Alright, looks like we're up and running. Alright, hello everyone. Welcome to the fourth round of Season 4 of ACC League here in Aero League Racing. My name is Rostom. I'm the commentator for ACC here. So yeah, we're in South Africa. So the first time I'll be commentating on a race around Kyalami. It's a very famous circuit, potentially the most famous on the continent of Africa because it used to host F1 every season. Hasn't done so for a few decades now, but it's still a top circuit, especially for, I don't know if it would still be suitable for how fast the cars are these days in F1, but it is pretty good for GT racing, quite a challenge for these guys. So let's go through the standings. The overall standings, we've got Rojnov, who got 2 wins in a row now. He's on 68 points, so he's 4 ahead of Peter, who had an absolute stinker last week, only finished 16th, but the worst round does drop, so he is still only 4 points away from Rojnov. Peter, the only other race winner this season. Then we got Weatherston, equal on points with Peter, also had a bit of a stinker, finished 7th in Bathurst after finishing 2nd in the first 2 rounds. He's on 64, 3 ahead of Morrow, who's done pretty well, apart from round 2, he didn't. Finished quite low there, but always one to threat, and it's no surprise that these guys are all right at the top of practice that you can see on your screen as well. Then we got Regnix, who had his best result of the season with a P4 last week. He's on 57, Steenstra is on 53, Cabras is on 51. Remember, he's a silver driver, so he's doing pretty well there. Just ahead of Capel on 49, Weston on 48. Skinsy, our championship runner-up last season, is only on 45 points. So he's a good 23 points off the lead at the moment. In the Porsche, he will be looking to have a better race today, as we see Scanlon's in the wall. And then let's just scroll to where is the highest bronze driver? Let's have a look. I think Major's the highest driver. He's on 39, level with Fitzinho actually. Both of them are bronze drivers. They're on 39, but that's the overall standings. Let's have a look at the individuals. So in the bronze class, actually it's Dandes and Fitzinho who are joint on 27 points, with Major just a point behind. In the silver, bear in mind the silver's changed a little bit. In the opening couple of rounds, people moved up and down. But we got Cabras and Fitterer joint top with 27 points, and Tierney on 25. So yeah, that's how it all looks heading into today. Should be quite an exciting one, and it looks like Peter is back on form, but the top 2 in the overall standings are the top 2 in practice here. Peter and Rojnov separated by 0.03 of a second into the low 41s, so that is the time we're going to have to look out for when qualifying starts, which we're just waiting for everybody to finish up their final laps before that gets going. Morrow looks like he's done well. Fitter is doing well, as well as Paris in silver, and then Fitzinho looking like he's on form. He's the quickest in bronze by 1.1 seconds actually, so that's really good practice for Fitzinho, but not everyone is putting in their fastest laps in practice. They're just warming up for the main event, which is about to start now. So let's see who is going to be the first out of the pits. Looks like it's going to be Peter actually, so our man who is challenging for the championship. The first one out the pits, he's driving the Ford Mustang, which has proved to be a pretty good car this season. It's obviously very, very good on the straights, and yeah, difficult to overtake. And I'm wondering what the overtaking situation is going to be here, because looking at that mini-map, I don't know. It might be a little bit of a tricky one, like we saw at Misano. It doesn't look like too dissimilar a circuit. Looks a little bit less hilly actually. But yeah, that pit straight is probably where overtaking will be done, unless there's any sneaky corners with tricky braking points that people make mistakes in. But what we saw in the opening 2 rounds were very few mistakes from basically the entire grid, to be honest. It was all about pace, and then last week in Bathurst, it was all about survival. Multiple multi-car crashes happened in that race. There was a few incidents in the stewards' room. It did get a little bit hairy at times for some of these guys, and obviously resetting to the pits had to be done if they were stranded on the mountain. So that cost a lot of people multiple laps in the end. We had silver drivers finishing, I think, in 5th and 6th there, scoring huge amounts of points. And some of the more fancy drivers finishing way down. But it was really a hugely dominant performance from Rozhnov last week, and I'm interested to see what happens today, as it's just started raining out of absolutely nowhere. It looks like we're going to have rain for the next 10 minutes as well, looking at the top of the screen. So this is going to be tricky for these guys. Remember, they don't have wet tires here, so they're just staying... do they? No, I don't think they do. If I'm wrong, someone correct me. But yeah, I think they just stay out on these and try to survive. So it'll be an interesting little challenge for these guys. Peter seems to be not too affected by the rain, so it has just started raining. It looks fairly heavy, but it doesn't appear to have hampered Peter at all anyway. And I'm wondering how much practice these guys actually will have done in the wet. It can rain everywhere in ACC, unlike in GT7. But obviously the weather's always set to random, I think. So yeah, it could potentially rain anywhere, and they just have to be prepared for it. So this is going to be a tricky qualifying. I have a feeling that the opening lap, if it continues raining like this, might end up being the quickest for Peter here and everyone else. So if they get a clean lap in on this first one, and the track conditions get worse, it'll basically be quali over for these guys. And they might be fighting for scraps lower down. But it's been a very composed lap from Peter. It does look fairly quick. I'm wondering how much he's actually having to lift at this stage. Who turned on the sprinklers? Get out and do a lap, man. Oh no, I think you've got a quali ban, sorry. Well, yeah, at least you don't have to race in this. It might be dry by the time the actual race comes. So he's rounding the final corner now, and I think this is going to be him setting his first lap. He set a 1:44.7, so that's quite a way slower than other drivers. Andy Winter's just come through half a second slower. Regnick's is slower again. Looks like Weatherston is going to be setting a lap fairly soon. Let's join on board with him in his lovely purple Honda, the only Honda on track. He's got a couple of corners to negotiate. Let's just look further up. Peter's just got 0.07 of a lead on Rozhnov right now, so that's really interesting that they're both still so close together despite the handicap of the weather. Now we've got Weatherston popping up in P3 with that lap, just a 10th off. He's in the 1:44.9, so only the top 3 in the 1:44s here. Everyone else seemingly struggling, but Andy Winters and Regnick's up there as well time-wise. Everyone else has quite a bit of time to find. It looks like number 46, that's Blocker, is going to be the next one. He looks like he's got a bit of a damaged car, and he's going into the pits, so he's been in the wars. Brian in the silver class is going to be coming into the pits as well. Maybe these guys are going to be changing their setup slightly, but not many people have set times. Only 19 drivers have set times so far. O'Leary is going to be the next one to set a time, so let's see what happens with him. Slowest time is 9 seconds off the provisional pole time at the moment. So we'll have to see, is O'Leary going to be able to get a lap in? Looks like he's probably just started a lap, actually. What's happening at the top? Rozhnov's come into the pits. Peter's in the pits as well. Weatherston's also in the pits. Regnick's is still out. He's just started his lap, so let's follow Regnick's around. He was 6/10 away. No one's really troubled the timing screens, the few that have set laps in the last minute or so. So it's really tricky to understand if the times are going down instead of up, but yeah, Regnick's sliding a little bit around that corner. It's not looking as quick. We're starting to see water get kicked up by the tyres as well. So yeah, I think unless something changes and the rain stops pretty quickly, we do have 9 minutes left of this qualifying session, but it could potentially be over in terms of the top 14 could all be set right now. Nice tight hairpin. That's going to be really tricky to judge the braking, and he backs out of his lap as well. He's warming his tyres, which is interesting. There's a Ferrari coming behind him. Hopefully that gets past fairly straightforward. Oh, it's Cabras. He's also... Yeah, he is on a charge. So he is going to be trying to improve on his lap, which was in the high 45s. So lots and lots of time to find potentially if the track is still giving them some grip. Thanks, Teddy. Alright, round the final corner. Let's see if he improves. If he doesn't, I think we could safely say that it is a wash. He hasn't improved. No one really up there. So let's see. Fitterer is top for silver. He's done pretty well on his opening lap. Looks like Major's in the top for bronze as well, getting ahead of Dandes and Fitzinho. They're the only people who've set a lap. Let's see, who should we follow? Let's have a look at Forza. He's not set a lap. Remember, he was the runner-up last season. He's in the Porsche this season. I'm not sure, but I have a feeling that I heard that the Porsche was quite good in the wet. But maybe I'm getting confused. It could potentially dry up at the end, but... Or at least stop raining and start drying up, but I don't know if it's going to improve lap times for the guys who've set a decent banker there. That going out early ended up being absolutely crucial, so if anyone made a mistake on that out lap or on their actual lap, it's probably a bit of a disaster for them, because they might not get a time that could get anywhere near the top 15 when that's where they would normally be in qualifying. So we're going to get a jumbled up grid order here, which you love to see. Forza 13 seconds off. Even Cherry, who had a really dodgy lap when he said it earlier on, multiple seconds ahead of Forza there. Moro hasn't set a lap either, so he's gonna come round the final few corners now. So I guess the 13.4 off of pole is the benchmark at the moment. Is everyone watching the stream because they're not bothered about going onto track right now? I think that's what's going on. Right, more around the final corner. Let's see how much better or worse he could be compared to Forza. We got yellow flags out for someone as well. He is about 3 seconds quicker than Forza, so that's pretty decent by him. Let's see, what can Paul do? Paul has just started his lap, so let's join someone else. Cabras did incredibly well last week. Easily his best race in ALR in Bathurst. Didn't put a foot wrong where many others did, and had really good pace as well. Really good pace on show. He won on merit for sure, and got that. Well, P5 was very deserved. I'm pretty sure it was a P5. It's got very wide there. Completely missed his braking point, and I don't know if that will invalidate his lap. He's only got one more corner to go after this one, so let's see what this looks like. Expecting him to slot into 24th though, if he ends up setting a valid time. So Cabras, is he going to trouble? Well, actually, no, it was an invalid lap. It was invalid. Forster's coming around again to finish another lap. Let's see if he can improve on his time. He does. He moves up to P20. He's only 7.5 seconds off now. So is the track improving to a point where you can maybe pick off these people who are 5 seconds and plus off of the pole time and actually start closing the gap a little bit? Might be a good time to go back out on track. There's only 4 minutes left. Yeah, it looks like it could be easing. Either that or that was just an incredible lap from Forza. There's a few other drivers coming round the final bends now. Let's join Andy Winters. He's just coming round the final corner. He's in fourth place. I doubt he's going to be improving his time now. Morrow behind him didn't trouble the times either. Andy doesn't either. His time is too good at the moment. Weatherston is about to come around as well. Don't think he'll be improving. This is, yeah, there's way too much rain at the moment. They're not kicking up as much spray, but you can still see it. You couldn't see any spray at the beginning of qualifying. Number 9, that's Forza. He's just ahead of number 77 and 46 as well. That's Blocker. Let's just watch how he takes this hairpin. Missed the apex, but not too bad. We'll have got a good exit there. You don't need to always do the racing line in the wet. Looks like we've got Brian's popped up into P19 there. 6 seconds off. He's actually bettered Force's time, so that's interesting. Let's see if Forcer can respond. If he can keep improving his time every single lap, he might salvage a top 20 out of this. And he does improve slightly. It's enough to get ahead of Van Hall. So that's a decent lap. He's in the top 20 now. Number 993, that's Morrow. We're used to seeing Morrow right at the front of the grid, so this will be very frustrating for him. Someone's gone very, very wide behind him. That was the number 7. That was Andy Winters, actually, so he won't be improving. They all have time for 2 more laps, it looks like. So Morrow 7.9 away. He'll be looking for a couple of seconds here. And he does. He's only 4.8. That's very, very solid lap in these changeable conditions. So the track is for sure getting faster now. Morrow in the top 20 pushes Forcer out. Pole in 19th now and pushing Freivogel, who I think might be making his debut. I don't recognize that name. If he is, welcome. He's in the pits right now. Let's see what's going on with some of these other guys. Weston is serving a quali ban, I know that much. We've got Cabras out on track now, so let's follow him. He still hasn't set a time at all. Cherry's improved his time. He's only 8.1 off of the top, but we still don't look like we're anywhere near conditions to be troubling the top 10 really. So this corner's been tricky for a few people. We've seen them go quite wide. I guess it's a cambered corner. That track is starting to look drier now in parts for sure. Not a fan of the graphic of the spray getting kicked up into the air. It's a little bit unrealistic. Anyway. Forcer, no, not Forcer, Cabras, what time is he going to be setting here? He is, he's the slowest of everyone who set a time, down in 27th. So, not feeling comfortable right now. Maybe it's something to do with the setup. Morrow's about to set another lap, so let's join on board with him very quickly. He's 4.8 off at the moment. Is the track continuing to improve? It is, because now he's only 3.4 off in the top 16. So these guys, well, and that's his quali over. He didn't want to set another lap or potentially ran out of fuel there. Number 87 is the next one. Let's try and find that. He'll have finished his lap. It's O'Leary. He's 6 seconds off, so he's got scope for improvement here now. He's under a little bit of pressure from Scanlon behind, though. He doesn't improve on his lap. He stays 5.3 off and outside the top 20. Number 18, that's Forcer. He's about to... No, it's not. It's Cherry. He's about to finish another lap. I think he's only done 1 or 2 with us so far, so still quite a newbie for ACC in terms of ALR. Let's see if he can improve on the 6.4. It might not be an improvement because we saw him bouncing around, and this is the final laps now, and he's finishing at highest 23rd. We've got Skippers is the next one to set a lap, and then just behind him is Cabras, who's had a tragic qualifying so far. We've got 33 races today, which is great to see. Skippers is going to be near the back. Cabras up into 22nd with that last gasp lap. We've got number 26 next. That is Oliver. We haven't seen it all in qualifying. He's given up on his lap though, so it means Scanlon might be one of the last people to set a lap. Let's join with him as he tackles these final few corners. He's got the best chance to improve. He's 8th though, 1.4 seconds off, so I'm not sure if the track's dried enough for him. We'll have to wait and see. only Aston Martin in the top 10 here is Scanlon, actually. And yeah, it's not going to be an improvement, and that looks like the end of quali, apart from Dandes, who's still out, but I don't think he's going to improve on that 3.6 second gap that he had at the beginning of last quali. So Peter on pole, Rozhnov second, and Weatherson third in laps that they set right at the beginning of quali. Andy Winters fourth, Reg Nix and Zaitsev in the top six. Fitterer on pole for silver, and Major is on pole for bronze in 7th and 14th respectively. So some good qualies there for the lower ranked drivers in terms of the class that they race in. They can cause some problems, because we've got lots of gold drivers not in the top 10, not in the top 15 even, including Morrow, really out of position. We'll have to follow him as he makes his way through the field. We know he loves a overtake. We've got pole further down. I can't see a few of them. Oh, Morda had a pretty decent qualifying up in P9. I think that's his best quali of the season in the top 10. Only a couple of tenths shy of Scanlon. And yeah, everyone, we haven't seen everyone's real pace yet, so we'll have to see what the race brings. Is it going to rain in the race, or is it going to be dry and back to normal settings for all these guys? So it looks pretty dry now. The weather says it's going to be fairly dry. Track temperature 27 degrees, so not the hottest track. So it's as you were, back to normal settings for the race, but this jumbled grid should create lots of overtaking opportunities, especially further back. Going to be a tight race down to turn 1 between the top 2 as well, because potentially whoever comes out on top in the race to turn 1, as long as they don't, as long as they keep their nose clean, it could be another march to victory, which we've seen happen a couple of times this season already. What? Are you trying to say I sound like the I'm in me mum's car person? I'll allow it. I can see that.
20 seconds.
So we got 20 seconds till we start. So let's go through the constructors. And it doesn't look like a single constructor's been overly strong. I'd probably have to give it to Ford being first and sixth. Ferraris, we're used to seeing more than 2 Ferraris in the top 8. So potentially an underperformance for them. 1 McLaren, 1 Lambo, but actually the only Lambo on the grid. The only Aston on the grid in the top 10. The only Bentley on the grid in the top 10. Another good qualifying for Paris, actually. So, formation lap. The lap to get your tyres into range. Try and avoid anything stupid like spinning off track, which can happen. Let's go down the grid and see how everyone's getting along. Got Leary there in 23rd place. Steenstra all the way down in 29th. One to keep an eye out on for how he progresses. Forza only 26th in the end. Weston with his quali ban is staying in the pits actually. Not sure that was part of the ban. So I don't know if he just made a little bit of a mistake and forgot to press start or drive. I think I've done that once actually. Whoa! It's all kicking off in the midfield on the warm-up lap. Interesting. A little bit further back towards the end, we've got Chaos and Kane right at the back as well. So they'll be at least inheriting 1 place. Got 33 drivers racing down to turn 1. I have a feeling not all of them will make it into turn 2 in one piece. it's quite a it's quite a heavy braking point, isn't it? Well, I guess it's turn 2 that's the braking point, but yeah, I'm quite excited to see how it goes actually. Kyalami, everyone always raves about this circuit. Bit of rose tinted glasses for the old style of F1 when we raced there quite a few times. So who do I think is going to win? Let's give it to Peter today. I think Weatherston is a good outside bet because he always just appears up in the fight when you take your eye off him. Silver, I'm going to say Dan's got an alright chance to win silver if he could keep his nose clean. Fitcher's got a great starting position though. And then for bronze, I'm going to go with Danders because he's just always been pretty solid. Oh, hold on. I made a mistake. How come? Okay, what's happened here? Oh no. I don't even know what I've done. Right, let's stick with Rozhanov for the start, and then I might have to do something here. I'll wait until it starts getting boring. Okay. We are riding on board with Rozhanov. Let's see how this race kicks off. That's a good starting point. Right, we are green, and it looks like everyone's jostling position already. Peter looks like he's covered off Rozhanov, and Weatherston's right in there, actually getting past Rozhanov as well. So not a good start for Rozhanov as we head into this really tight left-hander here. And it looks like everyone is just about making it through. And yeah, there's been a crash though. We've got Blocker there and Alex and Skippers. And yeah, that's not looking good for them. A little bit further up, Cabras really struggling outside of that corner. Is getting overtaken by multiple cars there. Dropped few positions. Looked like a green car on the right has gone off track as well. Capel up into P14 now. He's had a pretty decent start. Remember, all these cars are out of position. Major still in 15th though. Dandis down in 23rd. Let's see what's going on a little bit further up on the grid. Bear with me here. Zaitsev is in P4. Weatherston has the lead of the race. I'm so sorry that we missed that. So he's had some really good opening corners and managed to muscle his way from P3 to P1. Right. Oh, it's letting me return to garage now. That's very strange that that happened. But yeah, let's rejoin this battle at the front. Weatherston has lead, and he's starting to gap Peter just a little bit now. He's got a 4/10 lead. Peter under a little bit of pressure himself from Rozhanov. So these three I'm expecting to drive away from each other. They've already dropped Zaitsev by the looks of things. Zaitsev under a little bit of pressure from Regniks here. But Peter, having lost that lead of the race, on the very first lap, he will be wanting to do all he can to get that position back. Looks like he had a little bit of a shaky exit of the final corner. Rozhanov might try move into turn 1. It looks like he could be in slipstream range. We've got a really long braking zone as well that people could take advantage of. Paris up into P1 for Silver already. He's up into 6th place, so great start for Paris. Taking advantage of some of the carnage in turn 1. Fitra down to 11th in Silver, and Major still at the top in bronze tier. So yeah, these guys pretty close together at the moment, the top three. But let's have a quick look further down. We've got Paris under a lot of pressure from Scanlon here. Scanlon looks like he's going to go for a move into this right-hander that, yeah, Paris gave him the space for, but he didn't really need it because he had a better run through the corner in the end. So Scanlon having it tuck in behind him. This is a gold driver stuck behind a silver driver who's holding his own here in this opening stage. Only on the 2nd lap still. This is an extended race, by the way. This is going to be a 75-minute race. Looks like Regniks was challenging Zaitsev as well. He's really up the back of Zaitsev there. So having a lot of comfort in his car at the moment. And let's join Peter up front because he is closing the gap to Weatherston now. Seems like he's had a bit of a better 2nd lap. maybe regained his composure after losing the lead. He's going to try and mount a challenge for the race lead again. I think if he can get it, potentially could start gapping Weatherston, because it looks like he's got a bit more pace at the moment. Little bit wide on the exit of that final corner, which loses him a little bit of momentum. Half a second back now. It's actually allowed Rozhnov to get back in a little bit, and that is primary. Oh, something's happened to Paris. What's happened to Paris? He's dropped all the way down to 11th. He must have had an off somewhere. Someone's got a stop-go penalty already. That's Alex. That's a bit unfortunate. Excuse me. Zaitsev still holding off Regniks at the moment. Regniks dropping back a little bit. Scanlon has finally broken clear of Paris, and yeah, looks like his car doesn't have any damage on it, at least. So I'm not sure if there was actually an incident. Omada doing pretty well in 7th, just ahead of Andy Winters. It looks like Andy might start harrying him a little bit to try and get an overtake done. This is 2 Ferraris against each other, so it will have to be done on skill rather than anything else. Peter incredibly close to Weatherston again through that previous sector, putting Davey under a lot of pressure right now, and yeah, potentially in with the sniffer getting the race lead before too long. He needs to stop making the micro mistakes that we've seen. We've seen a couple, and coming up a corner that's coming up is the final one, where he's gone a little bit too deep into it 2 times in a row now. It looks like it was Davies' turn right there to go a little bit too deep. This might be Peter's chance if he could stay close through this corner and maybe send it into the final one. He's going to tuck it in behind, but he has to get this one right. He's super close. He's actually bumped Weatherston. Weatherston's completely lost traction there and lost the positions. Looks like Peter is going to carry on and take the lead of the race. Might see that in the stewards. Zaitsev might catch up to Davey as well. So that is an unfortunate way to take the lead with contact. But yeah, Weatherston's got to try and regroup now and catch these guys up front. Main beneficiary there is Rozhnov, who potentially is in for a good result purely through the incident of others. But yeah, Peter's decided to carry on. If it gets reported, it'll end up potentially costing him a few championship points. So there's not much of an interest for him to wait and lose even more points to Rozhnov and Weatherston by allowing them through. Oh, looks like a little bit of a dodgy exit for the corner there by Davey. Excuse me. Zaitsev still pretty close to Davey. Zaitsev we saw, well, we didn't, unfortunately, on the very opening lap of Bathurst, we missed a huge incident. I was following Zaitsev up the mountain, and I left to follow someone else just before that I think he made a mistake, and then there was a huge multi-car pile-up that involved resets to pits and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, he'll be looking to bounce back off of that, because he's shown bags of pace so far. He just needs to carry it on, and this is there's a lot more points at stake basically at this race. So this is a good time to get your best result so far. Peter is starting to create a little bit of a gap to Rozhnov. Rozhnov is 0.6 back at the moment, so he's not completely dropped him. Weatherston is struggling 1.9 seconds back now though. And then Zaitsev and Regniks are keeping him company. Bit of a gap to Scanlon. He's not been able to catch the guys in front just yet. He's lapping about the same as them now. Omada sticking in there pretty well. He's dropped Andy Winters a little bit. Capel doing well in the top 10 as well. And Paris recovering to at least winning silver class, even though he was doing so much better on the first lap. So he's got Fitterer for company, and that's going to be close battle probably for the rest of the race, as long as these guys can keep it consistent. Fitterer going a little bit off track there, but getting a pretty good exit, staying pretty close to Paris there regardless of that. Let's see what's going on a little bit further down. Major is coming under a little bit of pressure from Steenstra, Forza and Cabras, 3 drivers who were trying to make a bit of progress after poor qualifyings. Looks like Steenstra has got past, and now it's Forza queuing up behind Major. So how is this going to be negotiated? Forza does have a lot more pace than Major, but he's going to have to pick his moment well. I don't think Major's going to make it easy for him to get past either. But they're not really fighting for anything, these two, as they're in different classes. And yeah, much later on the brakes, and Major's wide, and yeah, Forcer just gets through fairly easily in the end, actually. Now Major's got a bit of a gap to Cabras behind. Cherry's at the head of a bit of a, well, it's a huge queue of cars, actually, down in the fight for P24. Pole trying to make progress after a poor quali. O'Leary's in the mix. Weston has come from last to be in this group. Freivogel, who I think had a much better qualifying than where he is right now, so maybe not having the best. Skipper's in the pits currently. Actually, he's out of the pits now. He has made his mandatory pit stop at least, but yeah, all on his own there. Only ahead, well, actually, no, just all on his own. Multiple laps down as well, unfortunately for him. Let's see what's happening at the battle at the front anyway. So we got Rozhnov still about 6/10 off of Peter. They've dropped Weatherston by a further 6/10 since we last looked at this battle. So yeah, Weatherston really not having the pace, had an absolute blinder of an opening lap. I'm sure we'll see a replay of that in the chat a little bit later on to get P1. Reznik's still lapping solidly. He's no longer really that close to Zaitsev. Zaitsev is still sticking it out with Weatherston, and Reznik's falling away a little bit. Scanlon still not closing in on Reznik's anyway. Andy Winter's starting to reel Omoda in a little bit here. But yeah, oh, it looks like Dan's got ahead of Capel though at some point, and we've got another battle here. We've got Oliver just behind. Well, actually, no, it looks like he's battling with Capel, I want to say. No, Capel's just at the head. It's Oliver and Fitterer here. So Oliver trying to make a little bit of progress. Actually lost that position to Fitterer on this lap, and now under a bit of pressure from Morrow now. Morrow on a charge, so he's made his way up to P13 so far. Might be P11 pretty soon. These guys are both gold drivers, so Oliver won't want to make it too easy. Diving it down the inside is Morrow, and he's going to get that position fairly comfortably in the end. A little bit further up, Fitterer's actually fancies a move on Capel, so Fitterer showing good form again, putting a bit of pressure on the gold driver. Sometimes he's gold driver, sometimes he's a silver. You just have to check what colour he has next to his name on race day. Looks like he's giving a good account of himself at the moment, Capel. Very impressive stuff from Fitterer, but Fitterer has to overtake Paris, essentially, and Paris is gapping Capel at the moment. Battle for P1, looks like there's actually a move in flight. It looks like Rozhnov is going for it around the, and Peter's holding it around the outside. It now becomes the inside for the next corner. Peter might win out for now, so yeah, Rozhnov's found an opportunity and he really went for it there, and it's not over yet because he's still within slipstream range. He has to stay close enough and deal with the dirty air for a corner or two, and then he might get a chance. This is the final corner where Peter has made, well, gone a little bit deep. He looks like he went quite deep there as well. Rozhnov still only a tenth or two behind. He's 3/10 behind at the moment. He needs to, yeah, he's not going to be able to get a move done because that Mustang just powers down the straight and gives Peter a little bit of respite. So he's loving the straights at the moment, even when Rozhnov manages to close the gap that much. Well, we've got Weatherston when it shows us just ahead of Zaitsev. So Zaitsev doing incredibly well this round. We still have almost an hour to go, so yeah, we'd just be on our formation lap on a normal week, but we've already been going for a fair chunk of time, 7 laps and change. Yeah, and quite a lot's happened already, to be honest. Some good overtakes. Let's have a check-in with Cabras and how he's doing now. It looks like the next one on his hit list is Forza. Major's dropped down to 19th. He's only 2.2 ahead of Fitzinho now, so probably a little mistake there at some point by Major. Yeah, it must have been because he's 3 seconds off of Cabras. Cabras reeling in Forza at the moment at a rate of knots, to be honest. So the BMW looking pretty solid here. We got TNE and the BMW up in P14 as well. So he's having a pretty solid race so far. Kept his nose clean. Good to see. Yeah, Cabras not really challenging at the moment. Let's see what's happening near the front. So we're about to round the final corner again, and has Rozhnov gotten enough of a good exit out of that final corner to challenge Peter? He's still 3/10 behind, and when the camera pans out you see just how big the gap is. It looks like they're much closer going over the hill, but yeah, still nothing Rozhnov can do at the moment. He's just got to be patient and hope that Peter makes a mistake. Peter did make a little mistake going a little bit too deep into turn 1, manages to keep it on track though, just only losing a 10th or 2, and now Rozhnov really up the back of Peter at the moment. Bit wide there for Rozhnov. Basically every little inch of track counts at the moment, so that they need to make sure they're carrying enough speed basically. So yeah, since we're in a bit of a another deep corner there for Peter, so these little micro mistakes, like I was talking about earlier, are really starting to hinder Peter now, because he's got Rozhnov incredibly close once again. Still not close enough for him to make a move into one of these corners, it looks like. Rozhnov's still biding his time a little bit. I think he needs a bit of a bigger mistake than what Peter's made so far, because he's just taking corners a little bit poorly. That's it. It's nothing major, and if you can't really be close enough when that happens to take advantage of it, you're in trouble. So he was 2/10 behind. Usually we've seen him 3/10 behind. He's 4/10 behind this time, so he's still not going to be able to have a go at Peter. Let's go a little bit further down. We've got Oliver just ahead of Fitcherer still, so Fitcherer's still not been able to overtake Oliver. They're 3 seconds behind Capel now. So Capel managing to drive away from Oliver at the moment, having a bit more pace. Morrow's fallen down to 20th. He's got damage on his car as well, so Morrow's been in the wars. We saw him chasing down Forza pretty quickly. Forza's in 18th. Good 6 seconds off the back of Brian. And we've got a big battle here that Steenstra's at the head of. Steenstra with 2 silver drivers behind him. TNE and Brian. So Steenstra making good progress through the field. He was well outside the top 20 in qualifying. Yeah, managed to keep his nose clean. His car looks in pristine condition as well, so it looks like he's been kept himself out of the wars, I should say. Then Oliver's still heading off this group. He's got two groups of gold drivers holding up silver drivers by the looks of things. Very strange race so far. Then we got at the top, Rozhnov still not close enough. Looks like Peter's probably regained his composure on this lap a little bit. Rozhnov trying some different lines to get better exits. Oh dear, sorry to hear that, man. Here we go, this might be it out of the final corner. Looks like a much cleaner and closer final corner for Rozhnov. This might be his best chance. He's still 3/10 behind. Even after that, the way that this Mustang's set up and the engine that it's got, the raw power that it has coming out of that final corner is just too good for Rozhnov. And then through these twisty parts of the track that we're going through now, it's quite clear the Ferrari's better than the Mustang. So yeah, it's basically Peter. If he can get his car ahead of anybody, he'll be able to keep it ahead of them, even with little mistakes. There's just nothing that Rozhnov could do about it for now. This might be a very important battle in the championship when it gets down to the wire towards the end of the season, because this is a big swing of points. These are the top 2 in the championship. They've been separated by hardly anything all race. Davey is 2.7 behind now, so he's started to lap fairly similarly to these guys after falling away a little bit after he lost P1. Here we go. Rozhnov is looking about it. He's thinking about it. He's just sticking his car there. It's made Peter go a little bit defensive, and Rozhnov is trying to get around the outside of him, and it's just not working. Peter going defensive again, and every time he goes defensive, he's taking a compromised line, which Rozhnov can potentially exploit. This is the closest we've seen Rozhnov all race, to be honest. Yeah, Peter just little micro mistake there, but still gets away with it. We're into the final corner. Now, if Rozhnov can really nail the exit here, he's definitely closer than he was the last lap. He needs to be under 2/10. He's only 0.18 behind. If this is the time to make the overtake happen, and he backs out of it into turn 1. He couldn't get close enough. Even with that great exit, the slipstream just doesn't help enough compared to the engine on that Mustang. So Rozhnov, really, the only way that he gets an overtake done is by doing it on any other part of the track, which is incredibly difficult to do. He's trying to put his car in interesting positions. He is distracting Peter. They're starting to lose a bit of time to Davey now. Davey can catch them if they keep battling like this, and Peter is taking compromised lines into like about 40 or 50% of the corners at this point. Rozhnov is clearly had enough of being in P2 by the looks of things. He wants to get a move done. Yeah, another deep corner there, but it gives him a good exit. Going deep does give you a good exit because you've got a bit more tarmac to work with, and that's why he's managed to stay ahead and Rozhnov hasn't been able to pull alongside there. Peter just needs to stick to the racing line, essentially. Pretend that Rozhnov's not there, because if he just does that and doesn't make any mistakes, he's not going to get overtaken. They do have a lapped car to contend with. That was a little bit hairy, potentially. Got away with it. Rozhnov thinking about it again, but still, what he's trying to do there is probably scare Peter more than anything. Scare him into a mistake by distracting him, which is a very legitimate thing to do in motor racing. Have to use all the tools available to try and get a move done. Davey now closed the gap to under 2 seconds. The gap's 1.8 now. So, yeah, Davey's not out of the fight yet. Zaitsev has dropped a little bit behind Davey now. Zaitsev 1.5 behind him, but still not a million miles away. Regnick's fallen way off the back, and Scanlon's finally starting to close in on Regnick, so we might have a little change for P5 fairly soon. Go Team Art. Yeah, we got a few Art boys in at the moment. Freivogel, unfortunately, down in P32. Then we got Morrow 18th, Cabras 17th, and another Cabras. Oh, I didn't know we had two Cabrasses in the server. In 13th. Yes, Cabras. This was the silver driver. This guy must be new. Okay. I can't believe I got that far into the race without realizing. Anyway, Rozhnov is still fairly close to Peter. He's still looking menacing, but not doing anything, unfortunately. So, like, I don't want to leave this battle, because the moment I do, there's going to be a change for the leader. We're going to miss it, I just know it. But I feel like we have to have a little look at what's going on a little bit further down. Scanlon is closing the gap to Regnick's as well. Omoda is getting caught by Paris, actually. So Paris on a charge, our silver leader of the race in P9, is only 7 tenths behind Omoda right now. Oh wow, it's all kicking off down here. Oliver is only 6 tenths behind Capel at the moment, so Capel losing a bit of time over the last few laps. Oh, that was a bit dodgy from Oliver. Seemed to get away with it pretty well though. Then we got Fitcherer in 12, still struggling behind Oliver, but now Oliver's going to start potentially giving Capel a little bit of trouble. Capel looks all out of shape at the moment. I'm not quite sure what's happened to him. He was ahead of Dan not too long ago. Now he's 6.8 seconds behind Dan. Yeah, this is a bit of a precarious train by the looks of things. Really interesting lines through the corners. They're not consistent with each other at all. Got Fitterer, Cabras in there having a bit of fun as well, trying to overtake his the guy he's battling with Silver for. Well, it looked a bit hairy when I joined, but now they've all seemed to regain their composure. It looks like Steenstra's just joined this train of cars as well. Steenstra doing really well in this race. He's just slowly overtaking everyone who needs to be overtaken, and it looks like he's making clean work of the field. So we'll join that battle a little bit later. We've got Rozhanov rounding the final corner once again. He's a little bit further behind Peter than before, so Peter getting away with it again. Zaitsev's got the fastest lap, by the way. Good to see. We haven't seen Zaitsev have fastest lap yet, I don't think. Capel's coming under a little bit of pressure again from Oliver. Everyone taking that line a little bit differently. It looks like Oliver got a poor exit from the corner. He's under pressure from 2 cars now as we head into the final corner. And this is probably the most important corner on the track to get a good exit. Oliver goes very wide. I think that might be a track limits warning for Oliver. He gets away with it. You can go that wide and avoid any major dramas. Fitcher is very close. He might think about a late move, and he doesn't. Looks like a lapped car's getting out the way as well. Yeah, everyone going through line of stern there. Is Peter dropping Rozhanov a little bit? The gap's opened up to 8-10. Well, he's not really dropping him, but yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a gap forming. Weatherston's starting to drop off the back of them again. Weatherston and Zaitsev very similarly paced. Scanlon and Regniks, this little battle. Scanlon's not been able to close the gap anymore. It says 7/10, but that's a much bigger gap. So Scanlon's made mistakes somewhere. So let's stick with Capel and Oliver and Fitterer. Looks like Steenstra and Cabras are in there as well. Oh, there's a car parked on the side of the road. I don't know who that is. Someone who's been lapped, no doubt, but... Paris has had a mistake. He's dropped 5 seconds off the back of Omoda when he caught him. So, yeah, drivers are starting to make a little bit of a mistake. Now, Dan gets away with it in terms of not losing any positions, but he has to regroup because he's only got 2.3 seconds on Capel now. It's interesting to see Fitterer and Cabras doing better than Oliver here. Oliver was like the star of Silver last season, especially when the ones I commentated. He was always in like the top 5 or battling with the top 5 on pace. So yeah, so he's not performing as well as last season is what I'm trying to say, although he's still in P11. Yeah, not much happening in this battle. Everyone seems to be just happy with where they are at the moment. Top 2 finding a bit more pace on Davey. Davey's lost a 10th to Zaitsev as well. Regnick seems to be struggling a little bit, but in terms of, well, when you compare him to the top 4 at least. But yeah, he's still holding his own against Scanlon. Andy Winter's really in no man's land at the moment as well. 6 seconds off of Scanlon, 6 seconds ahead of Omoda. Omoda in no man's land. Paris is starting to drive away from Capel again, so whatever happened to him, he's recovered fairly alright. His car looks like it's in one piece as well. Now we've finally got a move. We've got Oliver challenging Capel around the outside here. Capel going defensive, so Oliver just couldn't do it there. Oh, never mind. There's been a huge incident with Capel. Oliver's pulled to the side immediately. He is taking the blame, but they're going to lose loads of positions there. Capel's car looks absolutely wrecked on the front and the back. So I'm expecting him to come into the pits now. That's really unfortunate for him. He's dropped quite a few positions there. Actually, he's carried on. He hasn't come into the pits. Maybe he thinks it's too early. I think you can start coming into the pits now and not have to do another pit stop. But yeah, that's a disaster. Capel down to 13th, Oliver down to 14th. That promotes Fitterer up to 10th, Cabras up to 11th, and Steenstra gets 2 free positions as well as he continues his march through the field. So, a little bit of bad news for Dan in his fight with the Silver Boys, because there's a 4.3 second gap, but no cars. But Fitterer just goes off track a little bit there. Cabras might have a go into the next corner. No, he can't get close enough still. So that's one of those corners you can get away with going on the grass a little bit and not lose too much time. Let's go back to the front and see what's going on in the battle. There's still only half a second between the top two. I was checking the times the whole way through, and Rozhnov pretty much consistently between half a second and a second slower than Peter at the moment. So after having a bit of a nibble and doing some aggressive driving, I think he's just settled back into a little bit of a rhythm behind Peter for now. Still 45 minutes to go in this race, so still a long way to go. A lot can happen. Zaitsev's still with the fastest lap. He's now only 1.1 behind Davey. So yeah, the Mustang's doing very strong here in ACC. You love to see it. Such a solid car, the Mustang. Rejnik's now, yeah, he's still, actually, has he been over? No, he hasn't been overtaken. He's still just ahead of Scanlon there. Rejnik's in the McLaren, which is in the traditional colours, the lovely livery that they brought back for a few races in F1. We got Scanlon in the green Aston Martin British Racing green, which is their signature colours as well. Let's join this little battle between Fitterer, Cabras and Steenstra. Fitterer starting to struggle with Cabras behind him now. Instead of trying to attack the cars in front and stay with them, he's now the lead car in a train, which can change the mentality a little bit and start causing a few mistakes, essentially. So, yeah, that's allowed Dan to actually extend the lead on Fitterer by 2 seconds. So it's looking a little bit more... Well, not 2 seconds, 0.3 of a second, I should say. So it's looking a little bit more comfortable for Dan now, especially if these guys start fighting. Steenstra definitely has more pace coming out of some of these corners. You can see him taking different lines to see what he can do with regards to trying to get an overtake done, but he's just stuck behind these two at the moment. What's Capel up to? Capel is dropped, yeah, he's still 6 seconds off Steenstra. I think Oliver's made his pit stop. He has. He's down in 26, so he's top of the drivers who've made pits, but you have to remember all these guys down here in the... Well, we've only got 32 left now, so someone has left. Not sure who that was. But yeah, these guys are struggling, the guys who've made their pit stops, because no one else is considering making a pit stop just yet. Halfway through the race, which is coming up shortly, actually. Would be the ideal time, so potentially in a lap or two we're going to start seeing the drivers pour into the pits. These guys coming up to more lapped cars as well, so lapping is going to become a thing as well. Looks like they're about to lap Oliver, actually. So Oliver's little incident and then his pit stop. Looks like Capel's coming into the pits as well. I'm expecting him to repair his car. He's probably stayed out a couple of laps to see how it feels and decided it's not good enough to stay out on. He's losing too much time potentially. So he's going to sacrifice a little bit extra time in the pits for a better 40 odd minutes of the race when he ends up coming out of it. So these guys have to really be careful overtaking these cars. There's a lot... Oh, someone's off. That's just a lapped car. It's fine. I thought it was potentially one of the top guys. But yeah, Rozhnov incredibly close to Peter now. This might have opened an opportunity for Rozhnov if he nails these final two corners, or if Peter makes a tiny mistake into this final one. He's again incredibly close, but let's see that Mustang drive away again. They both take different exits out of that final corner. It seems to give Peter a little bit more of a slingshot effect when he takes more of the curb on the outside. We haven't seen any track limit penalties just yet, so I'm wondering how strict the limits are around here, because that could be a factor with this being a longer race. The track limit penalties aren't extended or anything like that. It's still, I think, the 3, and then you get your drive through. still pretty close between these guys. But let's see what is happening between the fight with Reg next to Scanlon, because Scanlon's finally got to within half a second of Reg here. The Aston Martin versus the McLaren. These guys will be battling a lot with the tyres in order to, well, just nurse them into staying in the right temperature range so that they could keep extracting the performance out of them. But yeah, no one is lapping as good as they were at the beginning of the race, that's for sure. These tyres will be starting to go off now. And it's a question that these guys will have to ask themselves, is whether to risk pitting and coming out in traffic now that you're starting to lap people anyway. But the people you come out in traffic with, you would have to overtake, and if you can't, then you're going to lose the advantage of a potential undercut and putting on some fresher tyres. Obviously you're going to have to fill up your fuel as well, so you'll have heavier fuel on board after your pit stop, so the advantage is a little bit, but not great. It's more about where you place your car on track. You've got the mini map in front of you, you can see roughly where you'd come out of the pits if you've done your homework. And work from there. So basically, if you're in clear air, there is absolutely no reason for you to pit right now, even if you think you can get a cheeky position, because so much could go wrong, falling down out to the nether regions of the top 20 really after a pit stop. There are very long pit stops in ACC as well. They're meant to simulate real life pit stops, so repairs take roughly as long as real life repairs. If they need to replace something, all that kind of stuff, it can take multiple laps worth of time. But you can't completely total your car to a DNF. So let's just see what's going on a little bit further down, see if there's anyone getting involved in any action. Fitcher at 3.9 behind Dan now, so he's closed the gap by 7/10. Steenstra has got past, well, Cabras has actually come into the pit, so Steenstra's not actually didn't have to get past it, but he's got some clear air now to try and close the gap on Fitcherer. So we'll have to see what happens with his times. 1.3 is the gap at the moment. Morrow up into P13 now. He's catching Tierney. That's going to be his next potential victim. Bit of a battered rear end for Morrow. So yeah, he's got that to contend with. Oh, and his front left is pretty battered. His car's definitely been in the wars. And that's probably why he's not closing in that quickly on Tierney's. Tierney's car looks fairly in good condition. Nice Irish flag colours on the car. Into the pits comes Peter, so Peter is the first guy to come into the pit stops. This releases Rozhnov finally to try and put in some laps. Rozhnov is going to come up to a lapped car on this lap, but after that he's got a little bit of clear air, so interested to see where Peter ends up coming out, because if he comes out in traffic, this could backfire on him. Lots of other cars are going to start peeling into the pits now as well. We've got Scanlon in the pits, Winters in the pits, and Paris and Fitcherer all coming into the pits on this lap. So this is pretty much the midway point of the race. We'll get confirmation of it fairly soon with a little notification. So Peter looks like he's on his way out. Let's see where he comes out. Let's have a look at the mini-map. So we've got one car, which is the 39, which looks like it's probably a lapped car. 139 actually, that's Tierney. That's who he's going to be fighting for position. If he stays ahead of him, he might make this work, because he's got a lapped car ahead of him and then loads of clear air. So this could really work out for Peter. It's going to depend on what Rozhnov can do essentially on this lap. He's got past the number 18 car, he's got clear air himself, so this is really just a test of what is better, Rozhnov's pace on these worn tyres but low fuel, or Peter's pace on brand new tyres, potentially not up to speed in terms of their tyre temperatures. I'm not sure how he would set his pressures, if he's going to come out the gate or not with really hot tyres. So yeah, it might just be a little bit of a warm-up lap for Peter, so we'll join back on board with Peter how he negotiates this lap. There's a number 18 car who is off track towards the end of the lap. That is Cherry. So unfortunate for Cherry, he's going to be dropping down even further now. Peter's coming up to lap this car as well. The car's got out of his way nice and early, so he's not going to lose any time there. Weatherston is now the race leader as well, so this could work out for him if he decides to stay out even longer. Weatherston's got nothing to lose really, apart from, well, Zaitsev is in the pits right now as well. So we'll have to see if Zaitsev can get a little bit of an undercut on Weatherston. But the main story here is Peter going to maintain his lead over Zaitsev? The gap was under a second, remember, before the pit window. Now he's going to complete his outlap. And where is Rozhnov? Rozhnov's just coming out there. He's got the inside line for the turn, and it looks like he's got the overcut done on Peter. He's got the position. That's very impressive from Rozhnov to get that done. Yeah, staying out that one extra lap, he just nailed it a little bit better than Peter, and he's got that position. He overturned maybe a second and a half to get that. Obviously had the inside line for turn 1 as well, which really favoured him, and he's got a great opportunity now to try and build a gap on Peter. The gap is already 1.6, so he's really come out of the gates flying here, Rozhnov, buoyed by the fact that he's got that position, which maybe he wasn't fully expecting, but yeah, it was quite close. Weatherston's staying out, it looks like, for another lap. So Weatherston not in... oh no, he's come into the pit, so let's join Zaitsev. Zaitsev has bags of clear air himself, so is Zaitsev going to be able to do what Peter couldn't? Zaitsev was behind Weatherston by about 1.2, I would say. So if he can basically do what Peter couldn't, he could get this position on Weatherston. Weatherston's in the pits currently. Zaitsev looking for his first podium in ALR, and if he gets this position on Weatherston, that would be the top 3, and he just have to maintain that for another half hour. Skipper's getting out of the way there. Looks like he might be on his way into the pits anyway. Yep, he is. So rounding the final corner now, we've got Zaitsev. Weatherston's still in the pits. Looks like he's just getting out of the pits now. Zaitsev coming into turn 1. He's comfortably ahead of Weatherston. Weatherston's lost multiple positions there. He's lost a position to Scanlon, who's out, and Regnix, who's out in at turn 1, and Weatherston is only coming out of the pits now, so I'm not entirely sure what happened to Weatherston there, but he's lost a huge chunk of time. Maybe he did a repair on his car, maybe he had some damage that we didn't see earlier, but yeah, he's outside the top 5 now. He's net P6 after Omorda makes his stop. Omorda doing one of his famous late let's just stay out as long as possible and see what happens. Good tactic, gives you loads of clear air. He's the leader of the race now. He's a lap up on Capel, so that's how much Capel's incident affected him with his repairs that he had to do as well. So currently everyone up to P19 has been lapped. Remember, we started with 33 drivers. We're currently still on 32. Skippers and Cherry currently in the pits, as is Steenstra making his first pit stop. So he's dropped quite a way down as well, Steenstra, as a result of that. So, Omorda carrying on once again, actually. Peter has closed the gap to Rozhnov by 6/10, so he's now only a second behind. He must be pretty frustrated. Like I said a little bit earlier, this could be a very pivotal battle between these two for the championship. That's a swing of quite a few points in favour of Rozhnov and to the detriment of Peter. The only two that have actually won races are competing for the race win again this season. Rozhnov is now 11 seconds behind Peter as well. So these guys completely in a class of their own at the moment. Especially with Weatherston falling back, who was keeping them honest. Rozhnov trying to lap cars now. I think that's Major getting out of the way. Oh, no, it's not Major. So that's one past. And he's stayed ahead of Peter, and now he lets Peter pass. So the gap is 0.8 of a second going through that previous sector. I think it might have extended very slightly there. As the BMW behind goes off track. Let's see, any other battles going on? Looks like Morrow is quite close to Oliver now. These guys have dropped back after making progress through the field, through the pit phase. Fitter ahead of Paris as well through the pits. So it looks like Morrow made his pit stop, didn't repair his damage, so he's just driving through it, which is an interesting tactic. Paris all over the back of Fitter now, got a good opportunity to try and get that position back. Somehow lost it in the pits, maybe a bit of a rookie error in deciding what to do in the pits. Maybe he fixed some damage? I don't know, it was only 4 odd seconds the difference. So quite a lot you can make a mistake on when you're new going into the pits. Some people brake far too early because they're scared of the penalties. Basically, you've got to practice that and get it really spot on to avoid getting the drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane, because it's unrealistic. You have to manually brake to the pit speed and put on your pit limiter. Or if you're under the speed, then the pit limiter's on anyway. So not much he can do at the moment. We're in another situation here where as long as Fitterer continues putting his car in the right places, in the corners, he's going to be all right, isn't he? Weatherston's caught up to Zaitsev. So these guys, Zaitsev's had a mare somewhere actually. He's dropped behind Regnix and Scanlon somewhere. So Zaitsev's made a big mistake. The man with the fastest lap of the race, struggling at the moment. Now Weatherston smells blood. He's dropped really far back in the pit sequence. It looks like Zaitsev might have a little bit of damage. I'm trying to... Yeah, he definitely does have some damage on his front bumper, and his front right is a little bit scuffed as well, so he's probably hit a wall somewhere and fallen back a few places. Unfortunate for him, because he was on for a podium. Now Regnix is the net P3. Omoda's finally coming into the pit, so really interested to see where Omoda comes out. Really deep on entry for Zaitsev, opens the door for for Davey, sorry, and Davey has the inside line for the next corner, but he doesn't have track position. Zaitsev holding it and has the inside line for the next corner. He's going to nail the apex here. Davey's going to try a little bit of a switchback, but there's nothing he can do about it. Zaitsev keeps the position now. But yeah, that pressure's going to continue because it looks like he's got a little bit of a battered car. It's definitely going to be costing him a little bit of time. He's got to relearn how to take some of these corners with the loss of performance that damage will be giving him. Oh. What happened? I don't know. I think we just went to someone random there. Right, we're riding on board with Peter now. Peter's made a mistake somewhere. That's what we were looking at. We just popped to Peter's POV. He was sideways, and now he's 12.7 seconds off the back of Rozhnov. This is huge for Rozhnov. Rozhnov now in pole position to get his 3rd race win in a row, having only got P3, the lowly P3 on his 1st race of the season. Peter might have completely imploded there. He's got damage to the front of his car as well. He's made a big mistake there. He's still got 7 seconds on Regnix. I'm wondering if that performance damage will cost him. Regnix just coming through the next sector now. Let's see. He's actually gained 8 tenths on that last sector. So Regnix might be sniffing a P2 here. Peter might have to drive 28 minutes on really dodgy... Wow, that's bad. That was a bad corner by that lapped car. Yeah, 28 minutes on poor performance. Let's see if what the gap is at this next sector. 6.2 seconds was the gap previously. We're just finishing lap 26 now. Oh, 27, sorry. It's now 6.5, so maybe Peter's regained a little bit of composure there, but definitely one to keep an eye out on for the rest of the race. Weatherston still behind Zaitsev, so Zaitsev regaining his composure. He's extended the gap to 9 tenths there, the battle that we were watching before, getting distracted by the other Mustang making a mistake. Fitter is still holding off Paris pretty well in the battle for P9. Omoda, by the way, has come out in 8th. So he's got fresh tyres. He's starting this stint on lower fuel than when everyone else started their stint as well. So the fuel will not be impacting the tyre performance with its weight as much as the other drivers. So potentially he could start to reel in Andy Winters. 8.5 seconds is going to turn into, let's have a look, 8. So Omoda is gaining on Andy Winters right now. He's got lots of space to kind of put in the work. But yeah, let's join this battle for P5. Weatherston has been stuck behind a Mustang all race, but it changed from Rozhnov to Zaitsev midway through the first, well, actually after the first stint through the pit lane sequence. Yeah, he's holding off quite well. Weatherston seems to be catching him, like very similar to the Peter versus Rozhnov battle. The non-Mustang, whoa, that was a big mistake there by Weatherston. So, yeah, we're not used to seeing this from Weatherston. These last couple of races have been quite error-prone, and yeah, he's struggled. He got a P7 last week. He's only in 6th this week. He was so dominant last season. Obviously, he's changed cars. I'm gonna give my unqualified opinion that the Honda is probably not on the same level as any of the other cars in this lobby, and maybe he's disadvantaged himself a little bit too much with his car selection for the season. I'm not sure. Morrow's now ahead of Oliver, so we saw a few laps ago Morrow stuck behind Oliver. He's got loads of damage on his car. Looks like Oliver's off track, just like we saw with Weatherston. Now he's under pressure from Pole heading into the final corner. Let's see if Pole can get a good exit in his McLaren and challenge this Ferrari. We know the Ferrari's got fairly good top speed as well. It seems to be nothing in comparison to the Mustang. But it looks like Pole's going to have a go for sure. And yeah, pretty poor braking there from Oliver, braking slightly off track there. Still gets a really good switchback and keeps the position though, so credit to him for that. Omoda's not catching up to Andy Winters, by the way. 8.4 is the gap now. So yeah, Oliver's been dropping backwards a lot this race. Unfortunate for him. He's still in the top 13, but always seems to be under pressure from a car behind. So maybe not having too much fun on this track. Weatherston has caught up to Zaitsev again. So Weatherston going off, but still that's not as big of a disadvantage as Zaitsev just damage that he's got on his car. Zaitsev's 5 seconds off the back of Scanlon as well. Let's go and look at bronze quickly. Okay, so we got Major, who is oh, look at the damage. His front hood is about to lift up by the looks of things. So he's been in the wars somewhere, but he's still carrying on. Actually, it doesn't look that bad. But yeah, you can see it wobbling about. But he's still in prime position in bronze as he goes very deep there. Well, it allows Scanlon to get past. Then in P2 we got Dandis, who, wow, is just getting past a lapped car there, who goes way too off track in my opinion. That wasn't necessary. But yeah, another solid drive for Dandis. Dandis was my pick to win before the race started. Kane in P3 at the moment. So pretty decent drive so far for Kane. I think he might have been one of the first to pit. Then we got Fitzinho down in P4. So yeah, the race not going too good for Fitz. Steenstra has dropped all the way down to 26th. So he was making great progress. I have no idea what's happened to him, but yeah, it's all gone to pot. I think he must have had to come into the pits again because he's 28 seconds off the back of Fitz. We got Van Hall in 27th, Blocker 29th, Skippers is 30th. We're down to 31 drivers now. Cherry is essentially out the race as well. He's parked it in the pits, so he's had enough. Battle for silver. Fitra has dropped Paris. is the story. There's 2.3 seconds gap now, so Paris showing really good form at the beginning of the race. Now fitter, and maybe his experience on ACC is starting to come to him a little bit, and he's starting to gap Paris. Maybe he's managing his tyres a little bit better. That's usually the difference, because we know these guys are quite similar on pace, but when one starts to fall off, it most of the time is tyre related or damage related. Yeah, Weatherston can't do anything to get Zaitsev here. Zaitsev falling even further back from Scanlon, and Scanlon still can't get close to Regnix as well. So we've got lots of close battles. Even Paul and Oliver down in for P13 and 14, they're still stuck at the same kind of gap. Forza in P15 seems to be catching up to them, so it might be a little three-way battle before long. They usually give us a little bit of excitement. There's a bit more panic in a driver when they have a car in front and behind them. Makes it a bit more, well, there's more mistakes basically. When you're under pressure from multiple angles, that is going to distract you a bit more. If you have got that mentality where you can't really block out what's going on around and just focus on your braking points. Zaitsev's still with the fastest lap though, so it's interesting that despite everyone coming into the pits, the fastest lap hasn't been beaten. The track temperature has gone down a couple of degrees, so maybe that has something to do with it. Track temperature is quite important for lap time. Higher it is, the grippier the track tends to be. Weatherston seems to be reeling in Zaitsev a little bit around the first half of the track. Yeah, it's going to be another one of those situations. Davy's just got to go for it on the infield section with a bit of a risky move, and if he gets it, he's just away. He could potentially challenge Regnix and Scanlon because he's got the pace on them. Well, he did until he made his pit stop, and we don't know what his pace is on this stint yet because he's been stuck behind Zaitsev the whole time. Might not be for long. Peter's actually closing the gap on Rozhnov as well, but the gap's still 12 seconds, so we can't... yeah, I don't think we're in for anything. Looks like a really deep entry to that corner now. Davey has got side-by-side with Zaitsev. He's got the inside line for this corner. Really tricky. Zaitsev goes off track, but still maintains that position. Now we're heading to the final corner. Zaitsev will have slightly dirty tyres. Davey's trying a switchback, and he keeps traction, but it wasn't, it just wasn't a good switchback. He didn't take enough width of the track, and Zaitsev really did and got a much better exit out of that corner. And he's going to survive again by the looks of it, unless Davey decides to go for it into turn one, which he doesn't. So he's got to be patient once again, but that was potentially Davey's best chance so far to get the position. And he's lost it. Davy's lost it. Another mistake. He's going to get going again. I think he will keep his P6. Andy Winters is closing in on him now. So there's the gap. There's Davy just ahead of him. So hopefully for Davy, his tyres are still in the right temperature range. But that was another mistake in the Honda. And yeah, it gives Zaitsev a lot of breathing space. 7 seconds is the gap now. Scanlon's still not troubling Regnix too much either. These guys just going to be on for a pretty solid result by the looks of things. Just a really consistent, solid pace. Not troubling the fastest guys, but there to really capitalise on the mistakes of others. We've seen mistakes from Zaitsev and Weatherston, who potentially should be ahead of them right now. And then in qualifying with the likes of Morrow not getting a good lap in, Forcer not getting a good lap in. Capel being in the wars, unfortunately, in this race as well. So 33 laps in, and the gap between Reg and Scanlon is still 1.2 seconds. Let's have a look a little bit further back. Looks like, oh, well, Kane was only a second ahead of Fitzinho and on the podium in bronze tier, but he's off track now, and that is a huge chunk of time to lose. He's looks pretty slow as well. Let's just have a look at his car and see if it's got any damage on it. So he was doing really well there. Looks like he'd avoided the mistakes for the majority of the race, and yeah, it looks like it was just a spin into the gravel. He's dropped behind Fitzinho now, so he's outside of the podium spots. But yeah, he's only actually lost one position on track despite all that time. But yeah, a huge chunk of time, 15 seconds off the back of Fitz now. So yeah, things coming back to Fitz a little bit. Major in the top 20 in bronze, so really good race so far for Major with his wobbly bonnet. I think that's what we have to start calling him if he keeps getting these wobbly bonnets. But yeah, really solid drive for Major. Major hasn't really been in the hood in terms of victories this season in the opening 2 rounds. I'm pretty sure he did well at points, but I don't think he got a good result last week either. I can't really remember, to be honest. Everyone had so many incidents that maybe I'm just remembering his incident and forgetting everyone else's. Yeah, Dandes a solid P2, Fitz in P3, Kane now in P4. So yeah, it's still top 4 for Kane. Still a decent result if he can regain his composure. Vittra now with a 3-second gap over Dan in silver, so it's looking pretty comfortable for him. We've only got 15 minutes left now, so time is running out. Some of these guys maybe will have fuel issues towards the end of the race. Not if they've done the homework, though. It should be fairly straightforward in ACC not to make that mistake. The bigger issue is going to be the tyre performance. Some of these guys came in incredibly early because they were involved in incidents, so their tyres will start to potentially overheat or cool a little bit too much if they've been in incidents, or they have to get out the way too much if they've made trips into the gravel. And the wear obviously is a factor as well. There's no battles going on at the moment, which is a bit sad to see. Let's follow Rozhnov and give a little bit of love to Rozhnov. So yeah, once again, Rozhnov nearly got pole position. I think he was less than 1/10 of a second off of qualifying on pole. He got jumped by Weatherston at the start, as did Peter. And then managed to overtake. Well, Weatherston had a bit of an issue, and they both got past him. And then, yeah, because Weatherston had that little bit of contact with Peter, remember? But yeah, he managed to do a great pit sequence. He stayed out a lap longer than Peter, overturned a 1.5-second lead, and got first place into turn 1. And hasn't looked back since. He was under a lot of pressure from Peter for a few laps, but then Peter made his mistake on the pit straight, struggling with that final corner all race long, and then it ended up getting the better of him eventually. And yeah, he's not looked back. The gap has basically been between 12 and 13 for this whole stint since Peter's mistake. So yeah, he's not pushing himself too hard, and yeah, he doesn't need to. He just needs to bring it home now. He's got a 13-second lead and we've got 13 minutes of the race left. So barring any unfortunate happenings, he's got race number 3 in a row wrapped up, and yeah, it's going to start looking ominous for everyone else in terms of a title challenge, to be honest. It's still going to be a really good result for Peter. Pole position points as well, and getting P2 is going to be a solid result. His second best of the season after his victory in Misano. This is definitely going to be Reg's and Scanlon's in their highlights of the season as well. Really solid driver for both of them. Scanlon's starting to reel in Reg. He's halved the gap now. So maybe the tyres are starting to come to him a little bit more than Reg at this stage. But he has to keep the pressure up. He has to basically start putting a lot of pressure on Reg, and it has to do what we saw a little bit earlier with some interesting lines into corners to try and distract Reg, but it doesn't look like he's been in the interest of doing that at all so far. But the gap is the shortest it's been. It's only 0.4 of a second, so he's gonna fancy a go on the next lap or two. I think this is the final position for the podium, don't forget. Lovely little brakes on that Aston Martin. It's a good car. If I were to drive any of these cars in real life, I think I'd pick the Aston because it's cool, isn't it? They've got good branding. They actually make you believe that they're like the high-end brand that you want. Some cars pretend to be that or try to. Like, you know, Toyota couldn't sell their cars to rich customers, so they invented Lexus. Aston Martin doesn't need any of that. They're just Aston Martin. They didn't come from anyone. Anyway, it's cool, alright? Scanlon really settling into a rhythm again behind Reg, so it doesn't look like he's going to be challenging him soon. Reg not putting a foot wrong, as he hasn't all race. The gap between him and P1 is 25 seconds now. So yeah, really in cruise control for Rojnov, because we haven't seen Reg and Scanlon really being involved in any major dramas. So that's basically pace on those two. Peter lost a huge chunk of time. He should be right up there. We should be having a battle to the end. We've got a car off track. That's number 31. That's Freivogel not having... Oh dear. Oh wow. That is... that is going to be a tough lap. His car is completely wrecked there. I want to see the hood pop up. I won't be happy until I see that happen. Oh, someone else is off. Number 24. Who's that? It's all kicking off now. Who is number 24? Oh, it was Zaitsev. Was it? No, it wasn't Zaitsev. Well, he's disappeared anyway. I don't know who that was. I'm sure it said 24. Anyway, yeah, it wasn't 243 either. Dan's dropped back to about 4 seconds off the back of Fitcher, but he's got quite a big lead over Cabras in the race. So he's going to seal P2 in class, which is fairly decent. His second top 10 in the row. He got P6 last week in Panorama. So really solid driving from Dan. He's had the pace all season, but obviously being a newbie, it's difficult to keep that over the course of a full race, but he's doing it over the longest race that he's done so far. So pretty decent for Dan. Oh, okay, it might all be happening now. So they've been negotiating with some lapped cars, and yeah, it looks like we might have a go. Regnix is really going defensive against Scanlon now. Scanlon trying to yeah, have a little look, but it compromised his corner, and he lost a bit of pace again, and he's gone wide, so he's losing a bit more as we head into the final corner, which isn't what he wanted. He wanted a good slingshot. Looks like a little bit lost traction on the exit there for Regnix. Has allowed Scanlon to close the gap a little bit, but the gap is still 0.3 of a second, so it should be enough for Regnix as long as he gets his braking right for turn 1. Scanlon's going to have a little look. Regnix goes slightly defensive into turn 1. Scanlon tucks back in and tries a bit to take a bit more of the track through the corner to get better exit, and yeah, not much he can do through this section as the corners are coming too thick and fast. A little bit wide there for Reg, starting to make a few mistakes here, coming under a lot of pressure. This might be the chance for Scanlon. He's closer than he's been for quite a while. The gap's only 0.2 of a second. Loses it in the dirty air, loses traction around the corner. That's going to give Regnix a little bit of breathing space. Right, just 8 minutes left for Scanlon to try and get this spot on the podium. Bit of a damaged car on Scanlon as well, on the side. Looks like someone bashed him in the side and he got away with it. Again, a little bit deep there by Reg. Still not enough to cause any dramas though. And again, slightly defensive into the next corner. Very deep for the lapped car behind. So they're going to have to negotiate with another lapped car coming up, number 18, that is. So it might open the door again for Scanlon unless he gets out of the way on this pit straight. Looks like he's not in a rush to at the moment. That's Brian. Brian's fallen quite far down actually. He was in the top 15 for the opening stint. Yep, here we go. So they've caught up to Brian now. Let's see what Reg is up to. Let's see if he can get an overtake done without losing too much time. Looks like Scanlon's got a bit of a run on him. Brian's still not in a rush to let them through, so this is really bad news for Regnix. And now Brian gets out of the way. And is he going to let them both through? Yeah, he does. So again, good news for Scanlon. He just sweeps through as well. Stays right behind Reg. There's another car coming up. 139. That is... where is it? TNE is going to be the next one that they have to lap. Yeah, he's super close. Scanlon fancies it now. Yeah, he had so much pace through that corner compared to Reg, but yeah, if these straights were a little bit longer, there'd be so much more overtaking. It's a bit unfortunate. Bit of a compact circuit, this one, actually. I can see why it's not come back to F1, because if it, I mean, where would you even have DRS? It would be here, but this isn't a very long straight. Oh, look at that beautiful damaged car, number 17. I can't even see who that is. It said 17, I'm sure of it. It's TNE, actually. So TNE's got a very badly damaged car. That's probably why he's dropping down the order. Look at that. But he's staying out. He thinks staying out's better than pitting to fix it, which it is, because the time you lose is crazy. But yeah, he might drop out of the top 20 before the end of the race. Now he's going to have to get out of the way of these battling drivers. There's Regnix, a bit of confusion on where to pass, and he lets Bomber through as well. Bomber going a little bit wide on the exit, and now Tierney's potentially going to lose a position to Brian here. Brian obviously doesn't have the damage on his car. This is for position, and they're both in silver class, so Tierney's not going to be making it easy, but potentially not much he can do here. So Brian's got bags of pace on him. Scanlon's still having a little sniff, but too far behind to do anything. It's amazing that actually it's not impacting TNE's performance that badly. That much damage. Woohoo! Went on the dirt a little bit and still managed to keep it. Actually, Brian went a little bit wide on that corner. So more breathing space for TNE now. Looks like Morrow's got past Cabras as well. So he's up to 11th. He's got some silver drivers to catch, though. He's been driving with damage all race as well. Now, how is Scanlon doing? He's still glued to the back of Reg. He's always the closest, right before this corner, so he gets a really good first sector compared to the McLaren. Then there's just not much you can do afterwards. So we got 3 minutes left, and it's looking fairly comfortable for this black and red car, this Ferrari. It's going to be another win in the Ferrari for Rozhnov. By the looks of things, he's got a huge lead over Peter. Peter drove a pretty good race apart from that one spin, and oh, he's off track a little bit there as well. The gap's 25 seconds now, so he's made another mistake somewhere because he's lost 12 seconds on Rozhnov, and Reg is only 5 behind. So yeah, I take back what I said. He's not had a it should have been so much better, and Peter's lucky that all of the rivals have not had good races themselves. Zaitsev dropped really far back. He's really struggling to get past some of these cars. Just got past 30, and there is another car that he's trying to lap as well. That's Brian. So, oh dear. Oh no, another mistake for Zaitsev. He actually rear ends the wall as well, and Yeah, he's going to lose a position potentially to Weatherston. Weatherston's just coming up behind. Weatherston dropped a long way off the back of Zaitsev there. He's just coming around the final corner now. There's Weatherston. So that's potentially not over. There's only, is it only one lap left? I think it might only be one lap left, potentially two at a stretch for these guys. So Zaitsev might be nursing it over the finish line. Actually, he's lost the position to Weatherston. He's close to Andy Winters, sorry. I was getting them mixed up, the number 1 and the number 7. So that is a free position, a gift in the top 5 for Weatherston after a really bad race by his standards as well. Oh, it was good that we had a quick look at Zaitsev. We saw that unfortunate accident for him. Paris closing back in on Fitra now. The gap's 2.5, but it's a bit too little too late. So some of these guys, like I said, will be really struggling at the end of this race, and other people will be absolutely flying. Looks like Zaitsev is one that is struggling. Peter's another that's struggling. So maybe the tyres on the Mustang are difficult to manage on these slightly longer races. Track temperature's cooling even more. Leaders on the final lap. So everyone will be able to finish their lap and the next one that they're on. Time's running out for Reg, for sure. Interesting to see how many are actually on the lead lap. Foster's managed to work his way up to 13th. Pole 14th. Oliver down in 15th. Still losing time to people and losing positions, but he's now at the back of this little fight with Pole and Forza. Maybe he's going to have a little look in here. No, doesn't get it. So let's have a quick look at Rozhnov and give him some love for the end of the race. He's driven absolutely flawlessly once again. And yeah, everyone else has made mistakes. All of his major rivals have made big mistakes in this race, and he's just kept his nose clean. And he's going to be rewarded with a huge victory at the end. 26 seconds to Peter is the gap now. Really proving that Ferrari is one of, if not the best cars for this format. 43 laps completed, so a 44 lap race in the end for one of our 2 extended races of the season. This is the halfway point of the season now, and then the second half will begin in a couple of weeks. Got some good tracks coming up, including Paul Ricard. So he's going to round the corner for the final time at this extended race. Really solid, flawless performance from Rozhnov. Failing to get pole, but he is going to get the win. Huge congrats to Rozhnov getting the win. Then we're going to follow Peter for the rest of his lap as he made a few mistakes. Potentially will be kicking himself after this one, thinking that he could have, should have, would have won that one. Had a bit of a hairy moment with Davey at one point as well. Not sure if we'll see that in the stewards, or we'll have to wait and see on Discord. But he's going to round the corner now for a really solid P2. Still in the championship hunt. Damage limitation after his mistakes there. Regnix has held off Scanlon and is going to get a great P3 for him. P4 for Scanlon. Kicks off their summer break, well, not summer break, mid-season break, really nice. Weatherston is going to take P5 after that unfortunate mistake by Zaitsev. He's got Andy Winters all over the back of him. There's a bit of contact, oh dear, and they're going to drag race to the finish line. It looks like Zaitsev's going to keep the position just by half a tenth on Andy Winters. Then we've got Fitra only 1.4 ahead of Dan in the end now. So really struggling on this final lap, but he's going to get class win by just 1 second ahead of Dan. So huge congrats to Fitra. Huge congrats to Dan as well, getting another top 10. Then we've got Omoda, who has recovered. No, he stayed out late and really benefited from it. He's risen to 10th in this second stint, so a good result for him. Damage limitation for Moro after poor qualifying. Finishes 11th in the end with damage all race. Cabras, another ART driver, but down in silver, is going to be on the podium for silver. Just rounding the corner, he's going to be the last driver to finish. And then we've got bronze major wins ahead of Dandes and Fitzinho. Kane dropped behind Van Hall as well, unfortunate for him. So that's your lot. That was a pretty exciting race. Quite a lot happened, actually. A lot of drivers making mistakes again. So maybe it was a case of the first races of the season. Obviously, you get so much practice with off-season. And now the races are coming a bit thick and fast. the drivers aren't as prepared, and a lot more mistakes are creeping in for most of them. I think the drivers that avoided mistakes, P1, P3, and P4 for sure. I'm not sure you could say the same for anyone else. I think Fitterer had a pretty flawless race as well, to be honest. Actually, he dropped back and then ended up winning his class again, actually. So he was in the wars. So yeah, potentially some stuff will be in the stewards. I think a lot of those were unforced errors, though, looking up and down the grid. Waiting to see what actually, if we can actually see the full finishing positions here. But we know what ACC could be like. So instead, I'm going to end the stream there. Thanks for watching, guys. Join me next time.